Hello everyone, this is Pamela coming at you with a quick video update. I haven't heard much about Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping. All I know is there was a raid on a house near her home, but I don't think anything come of it because the media, in terms of JLR investigates and other YouTubers or Twitch streamers, whoever's out there, is still following this case. I hope they go national with this story in terms of a bolo, which is a be on the lookout, not just nationally, but worldwide. The reason why I say they should go worldwide with this is because I think back to the Casey Kasem case. Casey Kasem had Lewy body dementia, the same condition that Robin Williams had, and what Bruce Willis is dealing with. But for Casey Kasem, it's a different ballgame because he had a battle axe of a wife that was doing everything she could to keep him away from his kids. She went as far as to take him out of a special care facility where he was actually doing really well. She took him out of that special care facility against medical advice and transported him across the state and soon somewhere across the world where he would later succumb to his illness and possible infections. And he's buried in some country somewhere where the kids don't know where he is. And it's sad. It really is. And somebody on YouTube has found his gravesite. But the people over at this particular country say they will keep an eye on Casey's grave until, if there comes a day that they can bring him back and bury him properly and give him the respect that he should be getting. But back to Nancy Guthrie, it just seems very sad and very suspect that somebody would just take her out of her house over 2 weeks ago now. There's not a sign of her. They've had a raid on the house. And people like JLR Investigates are on this case. And I went looking at some of the headlines where they say it could take months or years to find Miss Guthrie. And I think from what I heard, instead of rescue and return, it's become more of a recovery mission for this lady who did nothing to no one, just trying to live her life. Whoever took her out of her house should be found and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And any country that is harboring this bastard should extradite this person back to America, where this person can face the American legal system. But yeah, as I've said in the past videos, the longer this drags on, the less likely it will be that Nancy Guthrie will be found alive. And that is sad. No family should have to go through that type of pain. If anybody out there has any information, call the authorities. Call the authorities in Arizona. Let's help give peace to this family that needs it. Savannah has one living parent left. And to have her missing, it changes you, A person goes missing. Some of them are found. Some of them are never found. And I don't want Nancy Guthrie to be on the never found list. I want this woman found and brought back to her family so the Guthrie family can finally have some peace and closure. I don't know if the woman's alive. I don't know if the woman's dead. All I know is we need to step up our A game to try and find this lady so that the rest of the family could have peace in knowing that she's either alive or they could bring her back and give her the burial that she deserves. Because too many people disappear for whatever reason and they're never found. Some disappear. They live their lives for so many years and then one day they just show up. But the problem is, news outlets are saying that it could take years to find her mother. And, if she's on medications that keep her alive, and the person that has her captive or hiding her is not getting her the proper medications, who knows how long she would survive, My heart breaks for Savannah and her family. It really does. Nobody deserves to live in fear, not knowing whether mom is alive or dead. They don't know where she is. But independent media is on top of it. Members of Fox News are out there. But the one thing that bothers me about JLR Investigates, he showed a shot of a guy walking up to her door and he had on a backpack. Well, Mr. JLR Investigates had a backpack, but I don't know if it was from the person who kidnapped her or not. But he was looking around at this backpack, flipping it over, looking at the material, looking at how wide the bag is on the inside, what this person could have been using the backpack for. But I'm thinking, if that's potential evidence, JLR Investigates should never have touched that. Who's to say the police don't come back to that area to collect that kind of evidence? It's just very, very sad. And I posted a question on my community tab that there haven't really been any breakthroughs in this case, other than that she is still missing. They don't know who did it or why, but it could take months or maybe even years to find her. That is all I know. I try not to watch too much of the coverage because it upsets me. It upsets me because her mother, Nancy, is out there missing, and her daughter is doing everything she can to hold her family together, all while trying to work every day in the news business. It's not easy. But what I want people to do is to hold a vigil for Nancy and hope that she comes back safe. But as I've said in the past video, the longer this goes on, the less likely it could be that she's alive. So I think from what I heard, law enforcement and other officials have gone into recovery mode instead of rescue mode. And at this time, I could see why. It's been over 2 weeks since Nancy disappeared. I can only hope that the person who took her has a change of heart, brings her back to her family, so that Savannah and her siblings can have closure. I want her to be alive. I want her mother to be alive. But I have this sickening feeling in my stomach that it's not going to end well for Savannah. And it hurts. It hurts me because I had a mother once. Even though my mom did not turn up missing, to worry about them in their advanced age, that's hard. Because Nancy, as far as I know, lived alone out there in Arizona. And she was just living her life, doing what she always does. But some jackass took her out of her house. So it's just sad. It really is. If you have any information at all, call the police department out there where Nancy lives. Please call the police department if you have any information that could help crack this case. Savannah's family needs closure. We need to start paying attention and bring this woman home to her family that misses her very much. But the one question I want to ask you all, do you think she's alive or do you think she's dead? There's no sugarcoating it. I want your honest answers. I want to hear what you have to say. And if you follow JLR Investigates, I would say to him, you need to back off, let them do their jobs, and if you touched any evidence, it's a shame, because that backpack could have been full-blown evidence, whether the perp took it or bought it. They had a raid at one of the houses in that general area. And like I said, I didn't watch much of the streams on JLR over the last couple days because I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down. Of course, I'm worried. I'm always monitoring any new videos that are posted that pertain to this case. And so far, I haven't seen very much coverage on YouTube about the Nancy Guthrie case. But all I could tell you out there is that if you have any information pertaining to this poor woman that is missing, please call the local authorities out there. And anybody around the world that is watching this case, if you hear anything, and you hear anything about them going, overseas, call Interpol, call the police. I don't care. I'm just trying to keep people abreast about what's going on, but a lot of it seems very suspicious to me. Because it's just really weird. I've seen still photos of a person at her house, but she disappears right after the holidays. That's even worse. But as I said, the longer this goes on, the longer it does not look good for Savannah. And I feel that she may have already been killed. I'm hoping that isn't true, but that's just a general feeling that I got. If anybody has any comments below, feel free to leave them. I will check comments. But to the perp that did this, let Nancy Guthrie come home and give Savannah and her family the peace that they need to come to terms with what happened. And if you hurt that lady or unalived her in any way, shame on you. I hope they catch you. I hope they put you in jail for the rest of your natural born life. What is happening is so not right. Savannah, I hope you keep your spirits up. We're all out here pulling for you. And I hope that your mother comes home safe and sound. You have my support always. Nobody should have to go through what you're going through. But we're here to let you know that you're not alone. Anyway, that's all I want to say on that for now. But I just think it's sad. It's been over 2 weeks. Nancy Guthrie is not home. As far as I know, she's being hidden somewhere, or the worst may have happened. And from what I heard, law enforcement is going into recovery mode. Many news media, from Fox News to News Nation, is probably covering this. But people like JLR Investigates, who aren't professional photogs, you need to step back and let the police do their jobs. And if you touched any evidence, then you tainted any evidence that may be collected later on. So, I don't know much, but I'm trying to do the best I can to get the news to you. But some outlets are saying that it could take months to years, if ever, to find Miss Nancy Guthrie. And my heart goes out to Savannah and her family today. But if you have any information, call the law enforcement in that area. If you see them anywhere in the country, call law enforcement. If you see her anywhere in the world, call the police departments. All I want is for Nancy Guthrie to come home and come home safe. But I have a feeling that it's not going to end well. It's just that feeling that I have. Let me know what you guys think on this, and I will get back to you in another day or two. I want to keep an eye on the news affiliates. Plus, I need to take care of my health too. That's also important. You know, the only thing I could ask you to do is keep the Guthrie family in your prayers as we go through the next week. Hopefully in 2 or 3 days we might be able to find out something. But in this day and age, you just don't know. All right, gang. I'll talk at you later.